Welcome to the Co-Host Bros Podcast, where we break down everything short-term rentals, entrepreneurship, and building a profitable hospitality business. Whether you're a host, investor, or property manager, we share real strategies, real insights, and real experiences to help you scale smarter and grow faster. Let's dive in.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Co-Host Bros Podcast. My name is Matt Codd. I'm chilling with Austin Spitz, and today we have a special guest of a luxury property management company called Abode. Her name is Rachel Alday. What's going on, everybody?
Hi.
Hey, Rachel, how are you doing today? Super excited to have you on.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, for our listeners that may not know who you are, if you don't mind, give us a little background on maybe how you got into the space and what it is that you do today.
For sure. So my husband and I started this company together over 17 years ago. It may be 18, and I tend to say the same amount of years for up to 2 or 3 years. I think we're at close to 18, but let's just go with 17 at the moment. So we started because my husband had been in real estate here in Park City. And I guess I should clarify. So yeah, our company is Abode Luxury Rentals. We manage just under 200 properties at the moment. Around 140 something of them are in Park City, Utah. 40 something are in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And then we manage, I think, 16 at the moment in Sun Valley. We opened in Sun Valley 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. We opened in Jackson Hole almost 13 years ago. And then, like I said, we opened in Park City over 17 years ago. And so we started this, just the two of us together. We at the time I was working in marketing roles, like sort of corporate marketing stuff. My husband had been in real estate in Park City and around 2008. Obviously it was tanking. We weren't married yet. We got married in 2010. So we were dating and the real estate stuff was tanking. So I was like, dude, what are you going to do for a job? And he said he wanted to open a property management vacation rental company. At the time, there was no Airbnb. VRBO was basically Craigslist. And I thought he was super stupid. I was like, what? That sounds like a bunch of dirty work for no money. And I was definitely questioning the seriousness of our relationship.
That's your job.
But he had been really successful in real estate and he believed that this was a good idea. So at the time I had a really good job, corporate, I had benefits and stuff. We were looking at, we were in a serious relationship. We were thinking about getting engaged at some point. And so I kind of felt like, well, whatever, he can try to do this. I have good income and benefits. And if it doesn't work out, whatever. So anyway, that's how it started. And I was wrong. It started a long period of repetitive situations where my husband's right a lot of the time. I know a lot of people don't like to say that about their spouse, but
That's
he
our
really
job.
is. He's right a lot. It's weird. So anyway, yeah. So we just started with nothing. Neither of us had a trust fund or anything like that. And we just bootstrapped it. And we were super lucky, to be real. We started at a time when vacation rentals were not the thing, but they were just beginning to happen. And then as we were going is when VRBO got hotter and, obviously Airbnb, I think it was more 2012 when Airbnb started getting pretty serious for us. We've never had a huge amount of reservations from Airbnb, but anyway, that was all happening. The idea of booking a vacation rental, all of that was getting more and more popular as we had this business, not to mention, obviously, the real estate market and the economy was moving up. So we worked really hard, but we were also really lucky. And so obviously, we were on the upswing throughout that whole time. And then COVID hit, which was a total freak out. But then after COVID, we, were a rocket to the moon. So it's been a crazy ride because people will ask and say well, how many properties did you want when you started? We had no idea. I think that we figured if we had 30 to 50 properties under management, that would be money that maybe what he could make enough money that would be a decent enough salary to live in Park City. And Yeah. So, and we had no concept of where the rates would go, the occupancy levels. So now that we're, managing around 200 properties and we do about like 20 to 25 million a year in revenue, which is crazy. We do only manage high-end properties. So I will say one of the things we got right, and one of the things we were strategic about, which to be real, we weren't strategic about a lot when we got started, but I remember saying, my husband had a rental property sort of mid-mountain at Deer Valley when I met him and when we were dating. And he had it managed through a couple other companies before we started this. And I remember hearing him talk about how that was going. And I could tell that like there was no luxury aspect, right? Like I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I grew up, my dad's a doctor, he's retired now, but I grew up in a nice neighborhood. My parents took me on what are, I would say, considered, more like luxury vacations as a kid. And growing up, I ended up going into one of my jobs after college was a personal shopper at Saks Fifth Avenue at the store on Michigan Avenue. So I have been exposed through my own life and through work that I've had to, what a sense of urgency, a sense of luxury service does look like in the right environments. And I wasn't seeing that with these companies in Park City. And yet, this real estate, even back then, was really expensive. And so I was like, there's no one doing luxury. So the idea that we started, my kind of buy-in to the whole idea from the beginning was like, all right, let's just manage very high-end properties. We're not going to try and do volume. Let's try and do, a nightly rate of about $1,000 on average, right? Would be the lowest nightly rate. And then it goes up to like 10 or 20 grand a night. And so let's just focus on very high-end properties because we were starting in Park City. We never had any concept in the beginning to grow anywhere else, but let's just make sure that we can keep our portfolio of homes and homeowners that we work with smaller so we can have good relationships. We can offer that, sense of service with urgency and attention to detail and customization also for the guests. And that was the main like niche idea. And we've stuck with that all the way through. And so that's helped too. That was a lucky idea to start with, right? Because nobody was doing that. Even to this day, you don't find very many companies sticking with the luxury concept and being specific about it and being like holding true to that for this many years. And so, that has definitely served us. So I think that some of the, what helped us was that we do have the specific clientele. Because we have a specific clientele, we have a very specific kind of marketing. We have a really specific execution in terms of how we manage the houses and take care of them, how we set them up for guests and homeowners, how we take care of the guests throughout their the time from when they book, obviously, that whole process leading up to their stay and then afterwards. But because our clientele is very specific demographic wise, we've always had like a very targeted approach, and that has served us well. I think that's obviously like picking a niche is always a strong thing. So yeah, that's kind of the story. I guess the other piece of the story that I like to bring up is, so I had this marketing background, and so we were like a year into starting the company, and we were actually planning our wedding at that point. And I was making our wedding invites, like, the paper source and like the grommets and the ribbon. I don't know if you guys are married or if you did this, if you've ever seen, but like I was making our wedding invites. And I don't mean like printing out a piece of paper. Like it was like vellum layered with like this other fancy paper, and I was cutting it special, and I was doing this whole thing. And so my husband was doing mailers for our company. So I did a lot of our marketing, and I would like write a lot of the emails and stuff. But my husband was obviously doing like the footwork for the first few years. And so I saw him, he was doing postcard mailers like we all do to this day, but like everyone did, especially back then. It was like these postcards he was having made, and they were just like, they were terrible. Honestly, I was like, we can't, how are we doing this? And he was like, no, this is how you do it. You send out all these postcards and then you get a couple people. And I was like, I mean, fine, but I'm like, you're throwing all that out. Like no one's going to get that, So I was like, how about this? What if people don't throw out a wedding invite, right? Like if they get something that looks like a wedding invite, and even if they have an assistant, which all of our homeowners are high net worth individuals, right? They're barely ever getting their own mail. So whoever's getting their mail is chucking, the junk mail, right? So no one's going to even get near our postcard. So I was like, let's do something that looks like a wedding invite, because they're not going to open it and they're not going to chuck it. They're going to give it to this homeowner. And so while I was making our wedding invites, and my husband was helping me make these invites that we were inviting people to join our portfolio. And so they were like layered with grommets and hand tied bows and like a wax seal on the envelope. And, they were like dark brown envelopes. And then we were using like metallic to write, metallic ink to write the addresses, handwriting like 1,000 of these friggin' wedding invites. But we're actually, when you opened it, it was like to join our portfolio. And so we did get like, I think 3 or 4 homeowners, maybe 5, from that mailing. And that was kind of one of those stories where, it was like the old days and we had not a lot of capital. And it's like, how did you even get homeowners to believe in you? People that own 5, 10, $20 million houses, how are you getting them to sign, and it was like creative, interesting ways like that. And yeah, it just grew. Look, it's like whatever, over 17 years. So it was very slow growth, organic. We've never acquired a company. We just have opened organically in each of the markets. Usually it's because someone asks us. Like in Sun Valley recently, we had a homeowner that's friends with one of our Park City homeowners. And they were like, we don't have any luxury companies in Sun Valley. Would you think about, coming out? So we assessed the opportunity and went with it, and sort of similar with Jackson. And so, yeah, we're like weird that way where, we didn't have strategy. We barely had a business plan. There was definitely no investment money. And we just like slowly grew it and then ended up at this point now where it's like, we have over 50 employees and we have this huge amount of revenue and like a whole crazy machine. And we never, I don't know. Sometimes when I look back, it's like, how did this happen? Like, I don't even know. And now we have 3 kids and we're married and like, yeah, it's crazy. So I talk a lot. There's the story.
No. Austin has a question, but I have a statement. I think that the wedding invites are genius. So like, I'm like that kind of person too. So like, if it's somebody that I really want or it's really high value, I'll either send it like priority mail so they open it, or I'll send them a package. Like
we always do that,
like a gift box, and then the first thing we'll say like, "How did you feel when you opened this gift box?" type deal.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's totally genius because you got to get people's attention with mail. Mail works, but you have to have their attention. So I think that's an awesome statement.
We still do it. Like we just did a whole round of like letterpress printed, like embossed, custom, layered. And they go out and they're a mailer about joining the portfolio. But when people get it, it definitely is a wedding invite feel. Yeah.
I'm sure like the response rate is a lot higher too, because you went out of your way to put something thoughtful together versus a regular mailer. Like you said, people are just throwing it in the trash. But in that one, even if they're not interested in switching or they're happy with their manager, they're at least going to say, hey, like that was really nice. That was cool. If anything ever happened.
Yeah. You're not throwing away like a letterpress printed, like, those ones where they're like thick paper that the typography is like, indented in the paper, but then also it's like, it's the ink is in there, but those feel so good. It's like whenever I get something like that, I kind of just keep it for a few days or weeks because it's pretty and it like feels nice. And
it's in
you guys wax seal it.
Wax seal like a velvet bow. Yeah.
Have you ever had people call you and thank you just for it, just because they liked it?
No, but people will say things like, oh my gosh, that was so nice. And we do what you talked about. We kind of have like levels. So we'll do like, I don't know, 300 in each market, let's say that we're targeting, we'll get a letterpress, right? And then we'll bring it down to like, it depends how we're doing it. But let's say like 20 in each market are getting a gift. That's like a specific gift that we're, and then maybe like 10 in each market are getting like a bigger, and it's like a tiered, And so then, yeah, people are just at least like calling you to chat and find out. Or they're telling their friends that they got something cool. And then someone else calls and said, like, you sent my friend this really cool, blanket. And yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think Matt has done this before and he sent me something and then he sent me like somebody reached out and responded to him and was like, this is super awesome. Thank you. We're not interested in switching, but this was the greatest marketing thing I've ever seen or something like that. Right, Matt?
Oh, I sent you that voicemail, huh? Yeah. Somebody called me and they just basically said, like, I'm not interested in switching, but if I am, I'm definitely going to give you a call. You guys' marketing is fantastic. Thank you so much for the gift. And, I'll keep in touch or whatever. And I was like, damn, okay, cool. Like, I'm cool. Like, if you liked it, I'm cool. That's fine. It wasn't a waste. Exactly. It wasn't in vain. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's like our clientele, this is like a very small group of people. And a lot of these people like know each other. Like it's like crazy how interconnected when you get like up to a certain level of income. And so it's like, even if the person doesn't want to rent their home or they don't want to switch or whatever, they remember us. They definitely call us years later or they tell their friends. They go to dinner and they're like, I took a picture of, look at this crazy thing I just got. we're not renting our house, but like, look at this. And then the other person is like, we might rent our house. That's cool. So it's like, it's worth it, I think, because and it is like, we're in hospitality. So you're like showing people hospitality, like you actually care. And we do a lot of like investigating people that we're really targeting and like sending them very customized. Like there was this one homeowner we really wanted, this huge compound in Jackson Hole. We did all this deep dive, found out that the homeowner really liked hooch, like what is it? Like homemade booze, like
moonshine and stuff.
Moonshine. And so we really liked this moonshine, and he liked like really hard to get moonshine. And so there was a couple other things, but someone on my team, her dad is like, whatever, had this friend that makes moonshine. And like, so we had like this moonshine shipped out. It came in like one of those mason jars with this like cool top. And it was like really hard to get unique moonshine. So we did a package and sent him moonshine, right? Which is probably not supposed to be sent in the mail. But anyway, maybe we dropped it off. Maybe we dropped it off in person.
Before you listen to it, check with your
I'm in Utah.
state laws.
Yeah, I'm in Utah. So it's definitely legal in my state.
No, but that's
anyway,
awesome.
They were in Wyoming. So, but anyway, and so, like that went over. I mean, that was like a lot of our homeowners are, some of them are famous. A lot of them are like very top titans of business in the United States. Like these people are targeted, our guests too. Like they're targeted in a million ways by a million people. And so if you can, you got to break through. And so for someone like that to reach out and be like, oh my God, that was amazing. That moonshine is insane. How did you get that? Then, you're good, right? Even if they aren't your client, they're definitely going to feel that hospitality of like the fact that you care about who they are, to find out about who they are and to like respond and do something personalized to make them happy. And it's like, if you're trying to show people that you're good at being caring enough to take care of their really expensive real estate investment and or caring enough to take care of them and their family when they're in town. And of course, then the guests, that's a great way to communicate it. It's definitely complicated, but maybe, you just pick your select group and do that for them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to ask is, it sounds like pretty early on, you knew at least the kind of asset that you wanted to manage, and there was a brand standard that you were trying to live by. How was it kind of navigating? Like a lot of people, when they first get started, they have a hard time saying no. So like, did you know early on, like, hey, Rachel, we really want to work with you. You have amazing brand, but you're knowing in the back of your head, hey, this property can't generate the income to be able to do what we want to do in our business. Maybe how did you learn how to say no and like kind of structure your buy box to where it's like, hey, we got to stick to this. This is our lane.
I mean, I feel like my husband and I did a really good job of being specific of like who we were targeting as homeowners. In the beginning, we didn't have such an influx of people. Like we had demand and we grew slowly over time, but it wasn't like we had to say no to people too often because we were being targeted about who we were reaching out to. With that said, for me personally, I always felt it really hard to say no. Like if someone was older or there was just like certain types of people that I found it really hard to say no in the conversation. So did it happen that we signed a few houses that we shouldn't have? Yes. And it was usually me. And I will be honest, like one time I was pregnant. I had to go to the bathroom so bad and I would never like ask to use someone's bathroom in their house. Like but I was in this meeting and I was like really pregnant and I just wanted to get out of there because I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. And so plus these people were older and I just think they were so sweet. And I just could not be like, your house needs a huge remodel or I can't be part of this. Anyway, and I was just like, yes, they wanted to go. And I was like, let's do it here. Sign, let's do it. I got to get out of here. So there are a few times that I have agreed to a house into our portfolio that I shouldn't have. And one is a funny story about me being pregnant and have to pee. But like, a couple times there were homeowners. And like I said, usually it wasn't just like a regular conversation. It would generally be like, there was a woman that had just had a baby and she was like holding her brand new baby and her husband. And it was like kind of chaos, but they wanted to rent their house out. So there's like certain personal interactions that I've had where I just couldn't say no. I just struggled. And those houses are still in our portfolio today. And we've helped those people. We've been like, you have to do these remodels, look at everything else that we're managing. And like, so we've been able to turn those around mostly. But yeah, and then as time progressed, like as we've been around longer, now we are the established luxury property management company in our markets, right? Like there's not like a question about that at this point. So now we get a ton of people coming to us and especially like after COVID, when there was just such chaos, it would be like 3 out of the 4 homeowners that would come to us, we would say no to. And that was just a huge part of our homeowner acquisition process, was like referring out business to other companies. So we didn't find that too hard, because it was like, we've always known we cannot offer good service to the clients that we do have if it gets diluted. Like, it's just, there's no way. And I think it's because we've done a lot of the work ourselves in the beginning years. And then now we have this team that we're so close to. My sister works for us. Most of our team has worked for us at least 4 years, and a lot of them like 12. So we have like a really cool long-term team. And so like, we just don't want to screw them over either. It's like, we don't want to bring on something that's not going to be profitable for the company. And generally what we found is like, even if something has a lower nightly rate or a lower total annual revenue, it's not necessarily less work. And so it's like, we all know, like, our homeowners are high net worth individuals. They are extremely demanding. Like, let's face it, like, who is becoming very successful in the world, especially in America, in business? Like, it's a lot of narcissists. So, and I'm not like, everybody has narcissist tendencies in their personality. Okay. But like the group of people that we work with, these are unique individuals. I mean, honestly, they're kind of similar, but they're like very specific, and the demand level that we have from them, the need for perfection, the level of specificity, like off the charts. And so if we bring in a homeowner into the mix that's going to demand, a lot from our team, but isn't going to bring the revenue, like, it just hurts all of us. We found that out so early that it's helped us to be like, things basically for us, like, we need a home. In order to make the revenue that we usually are looking for, it needs to be like in certain neighborhoods. So in all 3 of our markets, we have like certain neighborhoods we're focused on. A lot of that has to do with proximity to town, ski in, ski out access. And then you're factoring in like, how new is the property? How large is it? How many bedrooms? Is it like a ranch compound? Are there guest houses? Is it super unique in some way? And that kind of is, so there's not like one easy set of defining factors, but it's kind of a mix of that stuff. So yeah, it's not easy to like keep your portfolio totally specific, obviously, because again, like, we're humans, and I do want to be hospitable. And so wanting to be like a hospitable person, it's really hard to draw the line when you're meeting with the homeowner face to face and you're trying not to be rude to them, because it's like, I don't have a second home. Like, who am I to tell you that your second home is not good enough? And now for years, I did the homeowner acquisition, and now we have some people on our team, and I had to train them on this too. Cause it's like, look, it's really hard to look at someone who's a gazillionaire and they have like a $3 million house. And you're like, I'm so sorry, this won't fit in our portfolio. Like, that's crazy. That makes no sense. And how do you say that in a way that's not offensive? Because like, the whole nature of that concept is just offensive. And so we've worked really hard on trying to find ways to like, explain to people why it's not the best situation, and like, then also match them up with someone who is like the perfect match for them, depending on maybe someone else that focuses on that specific area or whatever it is.
Awesome. Yeah. So we manage like luxury homes in the Texas Hill Country, and I think our luxury is different than yours. They're just very, very nice homes. They're $1 million homes, but at the same time, people aren't paying the rates. Like, the houses might be comparable, but they're not paying the rates that they're paying in your
Yeah.
market, which makes me think that we built our business in the wrong market. But anyways, the point is we manage very nice homes, but what we don't necessarily have built out, because it's really not a demand and the nightly rates aren't justifying, and the ask is not really there from like a concierge perspective to have this built out. So I don't even think there's really anyone in our market that necessarily does it. But for somebody
Okay,
that's
you should be the first. You
yeah,
got to do that.
that's why I had you on this podcast, because I can selfishly ask my questions, right? No, but
Yeah.
So I was
Cheater.
wondering, how have you kind of built out the concierge program of for your brand and stuff like that?
Yeah. So like, in the very beginning, I did our concierge, and I've always felt like really strongly about this. And we've tried a whole bunch of different ways over the years. It is definitely not easy in our industry to execute concierge like a hotel does, mainly because we really don't have software, which I'll get into that in a second. But because I had experienced high-end hotel stays and true concierge service, that's what I thought everybody would want, right? Because of course, like, our guests that these people would stay at a St. Regis or a Montage or a Four Seasons. And then of course they're thinking, well, why should we get 3 rooms and then we have to go like sit in public for every meal and go to like the locker room, which is probably a gorgeous ski locker room, but like we have to go put our boots on around everyone. It's like you be around people like, ew. And so to me, the whole thing is, you know, you have your private house. And that was so right from the beginning, I was like, how can we create how can we replicate the 5-star hotel experience in the property? And that would mean being able to bring food, whether it's a chef or drop off meals or whatever, to the house, to be able to bring ski gear. Instead of going to the shop to get your ski gear, you would have your rental ski gear delivered. You'd have your fittings at the house, right? And you would maybe have like some yoga or Pilates or whatever, like a trainer come to the house so you could work out like you would have if you had a gym at a hotel. And so we were trying to make sure like all the things that you might have at a hotel, even like someone to come do happy hour, like like an après ski bartender or whatever, so that you could have that same thing, but you'd be having it in the privacy of your own property. So that was the concept in the beginning, is we knew we were going to be taking from hotels. So we wanted to replicate that. And then I know that like in a nice hotel, when you book a stay, they're gonna now they text you, but like, you know, they would call you before and they would be like, what can we help you? Do you need car transfer from the airport? Excuse me, do you need restaurant reservations? And they're going to walk you through the things that you might need. And then the concierge from the hotel is going to do itinerary creation, right? They're going to create this so that when you show up at that hotel, there'll be like a nice letterpress printed or whatever, nicely printed document on the table, on the desk in your hotel room, even, that says like, here's what you have on each day. It's all booked out. And they might even like email you, or now they'll text you or call you and say, don't forget today you have this, this, and this, right? And so that was what I wanted to create personally. And so I just did that myself, and I would just do it with like a Word document as an itinerary and a notebook. And it was, you know, and then it's gotten a lot more complex. So we can do really like up to 2 million or over per year in concierge revenue. Like that's crazy, but that's because people are taking ski vacations. So even if someone's spending $100,000 for 10 nights at, you know, whatever the house they're renting, they may spend 120 grand on their concierge because skiing is so expensive, gear rental. They maybe are going to have a private chef. They'll go to a yurt and have a sommelier, and they'll have a moonlight hike with a blah, blah, or whatever. There's just a lot of things. So that becomes, you know, really expensive too. So to me, the shift in our industry that I didn't know other people, I didn't know no one did that in the beginning. Like I just had no idea that. And what I've learned over the years is that like in our industry, because we're all of us mom and pop shops, a lot of people that started these companies, especially before COVID, they might not have had experience with like high-end luxury stays or travel themselves. So they're just trying to like give their guest what they think they would want, which a lot of times is maybe not as high of a level. But even if you're talking about $100 to $500 a night, people are still going to really love the assistance with an itinerary creation, whether that's through some sort of a menu of like preset options or totally customized. And I think the issue with our industry in getting to that point, like I said, is software, but also we started with like this mentality of the revenue you can get from it first, instead of creating an experience, which like now people are so much more recently like experience minded. People are getting this concept. If you create the story for people that they can tell, you know, you're helping them create a memory. You know, that's the value, right? And for my clients, it's not the money. Like even if someone's spending 80 grand for a week on their lodging, that person is not saving up for that. They're making that money back in a day, a week, like an hour. Like it's not the money, right? It's just, they only have 1 week with their family. They work a ton. So this better be amazing. And if it's anything to do with me that messed up sorry, I'm a swearer, that messed up that week with their family, that is like so much more of like a values violation for them than the money, right? It's always just like, oh, great. I had 7 days with my family and now 2 of them are messed up because the hot tub didn't work or whatever. And that's what's going to weigh on their mind. And so I think that does ring true across the whole spectrum of price points as well. Like people do care if they did save up, they care about the money, but there is that aspect of like, they're not getting that time with their family back, you know? And so I think that when you can communicate and also truly offer to people that you can help make that whole experience perfect, the lodging, of course, but also all the stuff around it. So the way that we do that is the way that hotels do it. And this is where I think people like us that are in this industry could actually make more money than we realize. Because when you think about it just from a revenue standpoint first, You're like, how much can I charge to drop off firewood? How much can I charge for beach chairs, right? To drop, it's like, you're thinking of these like transactions. I could get like $50 a pop if I, and it's like, that's small. It's not, you're not going to get that far. You can't get to $2 million a year with that. And so what we do is that we negotiate with the vendors that we work with a discount, and we don't always get a discount, because if I'm working with a smaller vendor that is like really small and like niche, and some of our vendors are that way, I'm not trying to take 10% from them, right? But where we can with a bigger vendor, and sometimes like over many years, we'll give them lots of business and they grow with us. And then, so we try to do a 10% discount where we can with the vendor. Then we're charging the guest full price plus a 20% markup. Now, a lot of people are going to say, my guest will never pay 20% markup. And I would say that's probably true if you're still thinking about like firewood bundles or something. But for us, what we're talking about is like, look, I'm going to tell you all of the best vendors in each of my markets. So if you want to call the ski gear company and you want to talk to them about how you want to demo powder skis or whatever, and you want to have that conversation, like, you go do that. I can connect you with them. You can talk to them yourself. Like, and yeah, I'm not going to take anything for that. You want to talk to this private chef, you want to talk to them because everyone in your family can only eat oatmeal, and like, it's fine. Then you talk to them. We're not, so we're here to like connect and be a fixer and have the good relationships with all these different service providers. But a lot of people, no matter on what spectrum of price point you're talking about, like, I know I have 3 kids, 12, 10, and 8. And like, when I travel and I own a business with my husband, like, I'm sorry, I don't want to figure out groceries. Like, can I just, like, me or my assistant place an order? Can they be put away in the house? I do not want them on the steps of the house blowing around when I get there. I want them like put away, right? Like, can I want car service. Like, if I'm not renting a car, I want a car at the airport. I need a friggin' Suburban. And if you show up with like a regular Tahoe, I'm going to lose my mind, because I got 3 kids and an au pair. There's 6 of us. We cannot fit in a regular Tahoe, like whatever with our luggage. So it's like, I think a lot of people do value someone else making sure that things are perfect, and they're willing to spend 15 or 20% to have that happen. Right. And so it's like, if I can, if I'm approached by someone from like a hotel or a lodging company that I book with, and they say, do you want me to figure out your car service, your groceries? Do you want me to figure out your ski gear stuff for your family? Do you want me to book your ski reservations? Do you want me to book your dinner reservations? Whatever. I'd be like, sweet. And they'd be like, all right, it's going to be a 20% upcharge. I'd be like, cool. There's no way we're going to have any reservations for dinner unless you do it, because I don't have time. Right. And so that's how this tends to work. So yes, our clientele is willing, they're spending more overall. So that 20% is actually like a huge number. But when you're talking about someone that might spend $500 to $1,000 total on their concierge services, like, do you think they would balk at, 10 or 20%? Like, they might not, because they just wouldn't be able to get it done on their own. So we negotiate that deal. Then we have 2 full-time concierge. And so we do a whole thing through our email, with our guests once they book, where we're reaching out to everyone. We're offering, some sort of concepts that we, most frequently book with people, but then we have the ability to customize. And you want a naked lady with sushi, you want like a hot air balloon ride, you want someone to make snowmen with your kids, like whatever. And so we can take it, basically as far as they want, pretty much. I always say, like, as long as we're not like booking, prostitutes or, getting anyone drugs, like pretty much anything else is on the table. And so, and a lot of people, they really value that ability and they're willing to pay for it. And so for us, we've seen that makes our guests like really happy. We have huge repeat bookings. It makes our reviews amazing. It makes our local vendors really happy that we're like promoting their service. We're creating these amazing experiences. And then there is money to be made. I will say, without good software, it can be harder as you're like, once, the amount of concierge services that we do now, our issue tends to be, we end up spending a lot on bookkeeping to track all of that, because there's no great software to track it right now. There's a software called Trip Around. It's pretty good. We used it for a while. It's not perfect for us, but that concept you can execute with Trip Around pretty well. There's a tool that JJ King, have you heard of JJ King? He's in Florida. He works with Riley Goldman, and they have this really cool company. And he created a tool in Airtable, like with no code coding, because I was doing this whining and moaning to him about my need for concierge software. And he was like, I could make that. And he did. So we've been using that for 2 years. I was like, I will give you a percentage if you just build the tool. So that's what we're doing. But anyway, so I think on the smaller scale, if you were to try and execute concierge along the lines of what I just described, you would see that like people really, the guest goes for it. The homeowners like it. It affects a lot of things positively. It works really well. You get to a certain point in scaling that and you need a better tool, and hopefully someone will come up with something. Because what you need is like really good task management, as well as like an itinerary, a tool to create your itinerary. You need like a link that you send to the guest that itinerary is always updating. Because when you're not doing add-ons and you're doing like itinerary creation, it's like very fluid because people are always wanting to change their plans and things get, so you need like a link where you can send it and the guests can see their itinerary and their corresponding invoice, and it's always updated. That's what Trip Around or JJ's tool does. But yeah, and there's also like some other companies that are doing interesting things with concierge where they're taking it off your plate, because a lot of companies in the vacation rental industry are just like, I don't want to pay someone on my team, which for years we just paid a percentage to the concierge person. So they made a ton of money and they loved it. They basically like sell their soul to the devil and they just go to the ends of the earth for our guests because they're making six figures. So there's ways to like give your team part of the commission to make it work. But anyway, a lot of companies don't want to figure out, that's like complicated to, you know, be at the beck and call of people. And so there's a company called Epicurate that's really cool, where it's everything that I talked about, but they execute it. So they take most of it. You get a smaller percentage, but I think you get like 5 to 10%. And then they have their own team. So they're not local, but you know, and they set up the vendor relationships and they carry that out, just like I talked about. Key.co used to do that. I'm not sure if they do. Wait, there's another one. I don't know. There's a couple. I think Epicurate is probably the coolest at the moment, that is executing like what I talked about, but it's more of a like white labeled version where they kind of do it for you. But anyway, I hope that's something where our industry goes forward into in the future, because, you know, when you're talking about offering amazing experiences and creating stories for people, giving them that sense of place and that sort of authentic opportunity for activities and experiences, like that's a huge part of it, I think. Obviously, I love that topic. Sorry.
No, I mean,
it's like just pull the string on my back and then.
No, I think that's great. I mean, to me, it just, you pretty much just said that anybody can offer any kind of concierge service, no matter what the price point is. And, you know, kind of what you touched on, like, for instance, let's just say you're in a cheap market. I mean, grocery delivery, you can make a huge markup on that. On grocery delivery, it 50%. Takes 10 minutes to place. Yeah. It takes 10 minutes. I charge $100 like in a normal regular market, and it costs me like 20 or what, $35. So yeah. And it'll be in the fridge too. But you know,
people love it.
Yeah, it's 65%. But
yeah,
and it's a business at the end of the day as well. So it's like people need to understand, like, by more hospitality you provide, the more money you'll make in different ways, right?
Right. So, and especially if you're like putting it first, you know, which just sounds so hard. Like, I can't do everything for free. Like, no, you can't. But like, if you know, like with groceries, like if you just throw that out there because you're booking someone and they seem stressed, you're like, hey, do you want me to, if you send me your list, do you want me to get groceries? Like, I'll just charge you $100. Like, that is making them so happy. And that resonates with like the moment they get to the house, they see all the groceries in the fridge and like a little note you left them. Like, you just got a good review before they even had their stay. And so, I mean, there's so many ways to do that. And I have definitely learned the review is decided like in the first 10 minutes for sure. Like if they get there and they're mind blown and like the pictures were amazing, but it's even better. There's no hair on the pillow. There's not a hair in the bathtub. Everything's like perfect. And I left them a treat on the counter and they have, you know, some whatever. And like we do a lot of checking people in person. So there's like someone showing them around, show them how to use the fireplace and whatever. It's like, you're good. Like they are, even if something bad happens, even if, you know, the toilet overflows, like from the mysterious, no one knows why the toilet overflows ever, but like, or even, you know, whatever happened, we're like, it's fine. We love you guys, you know? And so it's like that first few minutes of their arrival is just so important. And if you can help them with their, you know, their any sort of activity or parts of experience of their stay before they arrive, and they get to arrive and like have some sort of documentation of that and get excited for it. It's like, it's such a game changer.
Yeah.
And you guys meet them in person at the price point? I'm sorry, Austin.
No, that was pretty much my question anyways. Go for it.
You meet them in person mostly because of the price point, right? They're expecting somebody to meet them in person. Is that
So
right?
like it's a few things. It started because these are really expensive houses, right? And so, I mean, honestly, to be real, my husband and I were so scared in the beginning that we were going to get sued because all these homeowners, like they would just, they could, who cares how much insurance I have? Like these people could just sue you to the wall, right? And so we were like, how are we going to like get people in this house and like trust? And so we would want to check people in to see that they are who they said they were. You know, we would like talk to them on the phone, but we want to like make sure there's no dog. It's not like a group of kids. And so we would check people in to see them so that we could tell the homeowner, hey, we met them. They're cool. You're like, you would be friends with these people. And then we would also be there to show them like, here's how the gas fireplace starter works. Like, cause they're always like, push it to the right, push it to the left, let go, push it again. They're always like weird. You know, here's how you use the hot tub so that you don't put it in eco mode by accident because they always friggin' do that. So it's like, here's how you, the door handle, you have to lift it and then turn the thing. Otherwise you're going to break the internal mechanism, right? Whatever. So we would like show people everything so that they wouldn't break stuff so that we could like have a eye to eye with them. And we felt better. Like they were less likely to like damage the house because there's like that personal connection. So anyway, that was the original reason to check people in, was to create a personal connection with the guests, because we felt like people have less likelihood of being damaged, like damaging something or being disrespectful when they have a personal interaction. It's not so anonymous. And then also we wanted to show them how to use like anything quirky in the house, so there was less chance of them damaging. You know, it was more about that. Then it did become, homeowners love that we do that for the protection of it. Guests love it, and guests would talk about it all the time, like, oh, Blaine from your team was so amazing. And I mean, look, we're in ski town, so we have all these cool dude bro skier guys that work for us. A lot of them, like I said, have worked for us for a long time. They really are like skiers. They really are people that go like whitewater rafting and kayaking and mountain biking and like mountain climbing and whatever. And so like our guests and our homeowners love them because they're like, oh my God, you know, Miles told me about this awesome ski run. I've been coming here for 5 years. I never even knew about that. Or I went on the coolest bike ride with you know, Drew from your team, because I told him I was going to go biking and he said he's going too. So we went together, and it just like creates so much personal, again, hospitality with the guests, and then the homeowners love it too. So that, yeah. So it started as like a protection thing. It's turned into a key part of the hospitality. With COVID, you know, obviously we weren't checking people in for a while in person because that we couldn't. Then after COVID, I have found that there's like a decent amount of people that are like, oh, it's cool, you don't need to check us in. So realistically, what we do, if somebody, because they're more used to like online bookings, if they don't want us to check them in, it's honestly like kind of a red flag. So we tend to, if anyone listens to this and stays with us, they're going to know, but we tend to like pull like, oh, hey, we got a water sensor alarm, or like we'll tend to go the next day and just like, hey, sorry, we didn't get a chance to check you in, but like we just wanted to bring by this treat that we forgot to leave at the house. So we tend to like try and go on the next morning just to like face to face everyone. And then we check in as many as we can in person. So it's hospitality. It's also like protection for homeowners of very expensive properties. And it helps repeat bookings. And I mean, the guests are happier when you show them all the things that are probably going to annoy them if they can't figure it out on their own, even if you put the QR code for them to scan, or you put the note, you know, all the book with all the description and all the whatever, you know. It's a lot of the houses we manage have like ski access, which that can be a little tricky. Like you have to go out this way and head, you know, so we'll show people that stuff. Yeah, it's kind of all that.
It seems like, I think the thing that people don't understand is they want to manage luxury, high income homes. But then when you're dealing with luxury, you know, high income guess they maybe do require a little bit more. But I guess the point that I'm trying to
Oh
make
yeah,
is that like I'm also trying to make the point that like you also have more expenses than the regular manager. You have two concierge people.
1000%.
You have like people say they have boots on the ground, but they're referring to their cleaner
Mm-hmm.
and their handyman. You have that,
Yeah, no,
but you
yeah,
have employees meeting people at the property. You have like, in my opinion,
yeah,
real boots on the ground. So I think people, they have this
yeah,
conception like, oh, I'm going to get these houses and make a lot of money, but it's like they don't understand, like, if you want to do it the right way, you've got to do it your way, which is going to come with more expenses. So that's why you kind of have to keep your standards very high from a
yeah,
profitability, from a property perspective, because you also
yeah.
have these added
It's
expenses like
expensive.
W-2
Yeah.
employees,
Oh yeah.
which
We have
most
over 50
managers,
employees.
yeah, exactly.
So
And it goes
like
past
that's a
just
lot.
having inspectors and stuff like that. So I think
Yeah.
people don't realize that part of it.
There's a lot of like hand holding. And I would say like our team, most of them, and we try to hire for this, like they like that. A lot of them, and we kind of give them, like we like spiff them for in-person check-ins to incentivize people to like, so it's like however much a check-in, added onto their regular money, so that, because it's always more like doing that is more of your soul, because I want them to be chatty and talking and like being real. So like that takes more of you, like having a conversation that you're actually engaged in takes your energy. And so when people are like just doing inspections and they're running around, they sometimes will be like, I don't know if I want to go do a check-in. Like they have to kind of turn on the charm. And so we'll kind of spiff them for it to help incentivize it. But it ends up that like a lot of them love that part, because they meet, let's face it, they meet really interesting people talking to the guests and the homeowners. They have conversations about things they love, because these people see my team as like the local expert, and they like want to be friends with them. They're kind of like, you live here? Like, I wish I could live here. You know how this is? Any destination you go to, you're like, I do this too. You're like, should we look at real estate? Like, this place is awesome. I do that like everywhere I go. I never buy any real estate. But like all of our guests, all of our guests are like, we could live here one day. And so like when they're meeting someone from the team, they're like, you're so lucky. Like, they're gazillionaires, but they're like, it's so cool you get to live here. And then the team gets to feel proud about that and like offer up all their little secrets. And so I feel like you don't necessarily need as many more people as you think you do, because you can incentivize your current team in not huge ways. And then they also do, like, I feel like my team has a lot more buy-in into what we're doing and like our company values, because they're experiencing how they're making people's lives better. Like they're seeing firsthand how they're making people happy. And that's way more impactful than just like being the guy that checked the house before the stay, or even being the guy that unclogged the toilet, like being the one who told them the secret place to go. And then they ended up texting him and being like, that was amazing. Thank you. That's like makes you feel better as a person, I think. So it's like rewarding on all fronts.
Yeah. And I had another question. We don't have to go too much into the weeds about this, but we're constantly getting asked about micro weddings. Like we have properties that are perfect for like 50 people weddings. They're luxury. Everything's great. Like, I guess with the cost of how much it costs to do a full blown wedding these days, people are like, hey, if we can get a very luxury place, do a 50-person wedding. Are you able to accommodate that? We always haven't, just because of the lack of knowledge from like a legality perspective, because now we're hosting an event with 50 people and their liability just skyrockets. So we're like, okay, should we just rent the venue space and bring in a wedding coordinator to do the rest? But we're just always saying no, because we don't understand the liability behind it. I mean, is this something y'all accommodate? I'm sure you get the same kind of...
I've gone down this rabbit hole many a times. So what I found is that legality wise, like we always make sure that they have coverage. I think we're currently at like $2 million that they have to have coverage, with their house of a certain amount. We have a ton over the years. We have to have crazy insurance, because the things that have happened in 17 years, like when I tell you that an $18 million house that was like 16 months old after just being built burned, and I had guests in the house and I had to put them up at the Four Seasons. Like someone died in a house one time, like things happen. And so we have learned like insurance in this industry, very important. Also, every homeowner adds us as an additional insured. I don't know if you guys do this. This is like very important to their policy. This is like, does not increase their rates. Like it's no big deal. All the insurance companies are used to it, but that's really helpful. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. So having those things in place means that we're not as concerned about the legalities, because we're super covered. But we don't. Okay, so if someone wants to have a wedding in one of our houses, what we found is people see these houses that we manage and they're thinking like, well, the hotel that we want to get married at said there's a minimum of like $50,000. And so that's a lot. We could rent this house for $30,000 for 4 nights. We could have the wedding there, right? And so we have a stipulation in our contract. There can be no events over a certain amount of people, depending on how many people the house holds. And then if they would like to have more people, they can make a request. Then we can get approval from the homeowner, and we'll tend to have a fee for that, right? So let's say someone's like, I want to have a retirement party. My husband's retiring and a bunch of us are all traveling to Jackson Hole. And so we want to have 40 people over to the house. Then we'll make sure the homeowner's okay with it, and we'll charge like say $5,000 or whatever it is. Like, so depending on, like, for us, that's not crazy. Like, let's say it's 15 grand or it's 25 grand for the stay. And we'll say, I need 5 more. And that's just because, it's like a risk, because when you think about more people using the bathroom, people might have high heels on the wood floor and make it, so it's like, we'll have an upcharge. If people want an event, they have to get it approved. And then, so that's what we do for that. We tend to not do weddings. And if we do, then we require that they work with one of our approved wedding planners. So we work to find out in our markets who are the top wedding planners that have all the best events. They have the best like track record in town. And so we'll say, if you're going to have an event, you have to have this person, one of these people planning it, because they're professional. You have to get those fancy toilets for outside. Not always, but like a lot of times we'll require that, because even if you have a main house with 7 bedrooms and 2 guest houses with each 3 bedrooms, but you're going to have 250 people, like that's a lot on the sewers, and I don't want to risk it. So we'll come up with stipulations. So we tend to, and for a big wedding, like let's say it's 200 people, then sometimes I'll say it'll be like 20 or 30 or 50 grand of a fee. And what that does, this is, I know, different depending on the price point, but you could even be saying like, oh, it's 5 grand for a wedding, let's say, at a smaller place, or 3 grand. But what that does is, for us, it's taking the people that are looking for like a cheaper location, and they're trying to fit their wedding into this like cool spot that we manage and do it for cheaper. It's like, that's not my clientele, right? Like, I'm not looking for a bunch of, like, this house is worth $12 million and I cannot risk you and all your friends getting a cheap location for a wedding. So to me, it's like, if you want to have a wedding, I need to make sure it's the right clientele, meaning if there's damage to this house, you will be able to afford fixing it. So I'm like, okay, it's 30 grand on top of your 5-night minimum or whatever. If somebody's cool with that, then we would do it, because essentially there's this extra fee involved where we have a buffer that we can repair things. We get part of that. The homeowner gets part of it. The homeowner's then happy because they got extra money. So if there's little dings and dents, they're like happy because they got extra money. We have extra money. And so we're like, we're going to be okay if we have to cover some things. So that's how we do it. It's an extra fee. And then we do work out relationships with those wedding planners, so that if it's like, this is not going to work at our venue, but yeah, here's this wedding planner and here's a really cool venue or 2 you should check out. If you want to have your group stay at the house, that's fine. But we are really specific then with them about our contract, because we have had people that try to like sneak having their wedding at the house. So a lot of the houses we manage have cameras outside. And so we have literally had to go to houses where there's like a bus or 2 that pulls up, and we're like, it's a big ranch house or whatever, but it's not allowed weddings there. And we will go and be like, y'all cannot do this at the house. You have to leave. Like, we're keeping all your money. Like, here's our contract. You got to go. That sucks. And I don't want to ever have to do that. But I think weddings or events are a risk for the property owner. And so I do think you have to protect against it, and or have a nice solid fee structure so that everyone's making enough money that if you had to make up for some damages that you might not get that guest to pay for, you'd have that buffer to pay for it. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, no, I've just made a note to like go back and re-listen to this segment later on.
Like, talking to the wedding planner, getting your wedding planner relationship is honestly the best, because if you find like a really professional wedding planner, if a weird person wants to have some weird wedding that's going to be like sketchy, when they talk to the wedding planner is going to tell you. Like, that's what happens is the wedding planner will say, these guys are like, they're planning something weird. Like, and so then we'll just be like, oh, no, we don't want the reservation. Like, we're not doing it. So the wedding planner can help you be like your spy too. Like, you can have wedding planner relationships, and they can kind of help like let you know, like, yeah, you guys don't want this one, or like, no, you know what? These are like respectful people. I think this is going to work. Here's what their plan is.
You need the wedding planner. You need the wedding planner that doesn't need the business, because you don't need the business. You need the wedding planner that's not.
You want the wedding planner
that they're like, hey, this is red flags, and I don't want to do this for my own brand. So like, when you partner with them, you got to be aligned.
Like, a homeowner one time like had a friend that was a wedding planner, like just getting started. They were like, she has this wedding, she wants to have it at our house. Like, will you work with her? Like, oh, that's terrible. It was bad, right? It's like, no, you want the wedding planner that's like a little bit snooty. That's going to be like, nope, they're not going to take any, from people, and so they'll be able to help you too. Like, we do that like with our housekeepers. I always try to push for those midweek cleans, because the housekeepers are like our spies, so it's like, I want the housekeepers in the house so that when they're in there, they can send me pictures, and they're usually going to send me pictures of like, I don't know, bloody towel, because we get a lot of bloody noses in the mountains, but like maybe they're sending us pictures of like someone's gun. Like, a lot of people have guns. I'm like, the gun is fine. Don't touch it. Like, the bloody towel, it's okay. But then maybe they're sending you a picture of like dog water bowls when there's not supposed to be a dog, or I don't know, like paraphernalia, or like a lot of stuff we see is just like really weird when you think about our level of clientele. But anyway, they'll send us stuff, and like, or they'll show me that like the people have no groceries. All they got delivered was like a bunch of limes and lemons and booze. I'm like, oh, they're going to have a huge party. Like, let's talk to these people. So to me, the housekeepers, the wedding planners, like those people can, and actually doing concierge, you find out a lot more about like, tell me about your group. Like, is it a group of guys? Are you guys traveling like a work group? Is it like you're watching the Super Bowl? You can find out more about the group that you're having, so you can help them have a better experience, but you can also head off, potential issues of like finding out the next day after they leave that there's whipped cream in the hot tub or whatever. You can kind of prepare for that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, all that makes sense. Another question that kind of comes to mind is like for people for managers that are in more seasonal markets. So we're in pretty summer heavy seasonal market, and then we call it, shoulder, dead season, whatever. I guess for you, it seems like you're in a lot of your money is made in the winter time for the most part. Is your market seasonal? And is there, I guess my main question is like, how do you balance seasonality when there's, maybe a period of months where you're not seeing the income that you see in the busy seasons? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. So like Park City is much more occupancy and higher rates in the winter. Interestingly, Jackson Hole and Sun Valley have the highest occupancy and rates in the summer, although they both have strong winters as well. So that was why Jackson Hole became something that we considered seriously when it was raised as an option to us, because it was helping balance the calendar. So I would say one thing to think about is if you're in a very seasonal market, say heavy summer, it might be good to look at some market that's not too far away or like is somehow related to because like all our markets are 4.5 hour drive away, which is nice. So we can fly, but we can drive pretty easy. So one thing to consider is there an additional market you would want to grow into that would be the opposite season, so that you could help give your company more like consistent revenue. So that's one thing. Something we did more recently is like we have a resort fee, and that fee we just made non-refundable, so that when people are booking that, like that resort fee revenue is coming in and it can be recognized immediately because it's non-refundable. It's stated in the, so because we have like a super crazy, we're like really strict on cancellations, but still, and we book really far out. A lot of our stays book like 3 to 6, even 12 months out. And so, having fees that are non-refundable is an interesting thing to look at because you're creating consistent revenue. Because like maybe your bookings are more consistently happening like throughout your calendar, but your reservations, and this depends on how small your booking window is. So for us, like we have a lot of bookings coming during our slow season, but our reservations aren't checking out, like say till January, February, March, April. And so we recognize revenue obviously after the person checks out is when we recognize revenue as a company. And so having non-refundable fees means we can recognize that fee revenue when the booking happens, which is through all the slower months. So that's something. What else? And then I guess, I don't know, we have tried to push for like say fall and push for different times to, sort of activate other times of year that aren't considered more commonly booked times for the markets. But I mean, realistically, I think that's because of like the marketing that Chamber of Commerce's do and just like people's travel trends. It's like, it is hard, I think, to shift bookings into your off seasons too much. So yeah, I don't know. For us, it was looking at a market that had like a balancing season.
I think that answers the question most of all is like we need to entertain potentially going into a market that's not so summer heavy,
or not as seasonal, right? Like just something that's more all year round. Like we were just looking at Santa Fe recently. And I don't know that we're going to expand there, but that market is like, has a lot less seasonality. So that was interesting for us because we're like, oh, it's not as high of rates as like, some of our other markets, but it's really consistent. That's an interesting balance, for something like Park City that's so heavy in the winter. So yeah.
I gotcha. No, that makes sense. I have 2 more notes to ask here, but we're kind of at time. So I'm going to let you pick the question.
Okay.
It's the topic is for people that are running a business with their significant other,
Yeah.
or
I didn't
we
even
can
get
do,
into that. I got a lot on that. Okay, yeah.
or maybe we can do both. I don't know. Matt's the time
I
guy.
got,
So
and I have like 5 minutes. But
okay,
wait, tell me what's the other one?
okay.
Everybody, welcome back to part 2.
Okay. And then there's you've got 5 minutes. So, or we can talk about the culture that you've implemented in your business, culture
Yeah.
or
I
husband
mean,
and
it's
wife
kind
duo.
of related. It's kind of related, you guys. I think our culture actually came as a result of us having the business and being married. So, do either of you work with your wives in your business or no? I
I
don't know. You
do.
might not even have wives. Okay. So, like, I don't know how many years, Matt, have you been working together?
We've been doing a little over a year. We're
Oh,
managing our
okay.
own before that, though.
Okay.
But it's an interesting balance.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think it's amazing to work in this type of a business specifically with a spouse because this business is all about trust. And like all these homeowners have to trust us. Why would they trust us with their like 20, $50 million? Like that makes no sense. Right. And so the fact that, we're a couple and I think that, people can see like we have a family and we're invested here and living in this place and like we care about our business and it's our whole life. I think that that's really strong. But also, staying married, having kids, having a business, getting through COVID, like that is some, what. And so I would say a few things. One, I'm a big therapy person. Like if you work with your spouse and you're not doing individual therapy and couples therapy, you may think I'm crazy. I'm fine with that. I am crazy, but you should be doing therapy because it's for me, it's just been like such a amazing tool to like understand why I act the way I act in certain situations, why he acts. Like to me, the kind of therapy where they're like, let's talk about what you're fighting about. And like, no, I don't mean that. I mean like more like the more sort of new age, like modern therapy where you're looking at what are the things that are behind the things that trigger you, the way you have the certain behaviors, coping mechanisms, whatever, and learning about that to me is like really important so you can work with your spouse so you can just begin to be more curious when they do things that drive you crazy because they're going to, and instead of being like, oh, like you mother whatever, like how are you doing that again, instead you're more like, okay, all right, I know why he does that, so okay, let's see, okay, he must be like having a moment about, he must be like in it right now, so like I like literally I've gotten to where I can do that. That's huge because I'm kind of a hothead. My husband's the yin to my yang, or I'm the yin and he's the yang, right? But like he's really patient, quiet. He doesn't talk a lot. If he was here, he probably would have said like 3 words, but he's really cute. He'd be smiling. But like, but so like, we have to be able to work through that. And so I would say therapy is super important to understand yourself and your partner, your spouse, your business partner, so you can work together on a long-term basis and not like eventually just be like, that's it, I'm done. Because there's a million times where you could say, that's it, I'm done. And that's not even including all the things that we know happen in marriages, whether it's, death or like sad, terrible things that happen in our families or betrayal or all the real things that happen in real marriages. And then you have your whole business tied in together. It's like, that's some crazy stuff. And so I think therapy has been amazing. And then what it's also done, my husband and I, because we're just regular humans, sorry, to burst the bubble, we have not had like rainbow, like it has not been easy every day that we've been married, and we have been through some things. And we were working here together while that was happening. And so a lot of our team, like we're just really close to them. And so they were sort of witnessing like some things that went down. And so Rob and I, my husband and I, like did a lot of therapy and did a lot of work to get through some stuff. And my team was here watching it. And while that was happening, I was like, it's so unfair that I get to learn all these things about how to be a better adult and a better leader for my kids and a better partner for my spouse. And like, here I have all this staff. I'm 47 and my team, a lot of them are like 25 to 35. And I kept thinking like, oh my God, I wish that I could like give this to you guys younger so you could learn it younger than I did. And so we actually pay for therapy for our team. Everyone gets free therapy and they get free couples therapy if they want it too. Because what we realized is like, we're all growing up together. They're growing up. They're all getting married now and they're having kids. And like, this job is hard. Like our customers are hard. And it takes a lot out of you to give hospitality to other people, to like pour your soul into giving to other people takes a lot out of you. And then you have to go home and give to your kids and your husband and whatever. And maybe you just have to be nice to your family and your siblings or whatever. And so we started realizing that we wanted our team to have that support to understand themselves better, so that they could also like have recovery, and they could be more resilient, you know, in this hospitality industry that can really just like suck you dry. And so anyway, I think therapy, I always talk about therapy and people think I'm crazy. But I swear, like, try it for like a few months and then tell me I'm wrong. Of course, like a terrible therapist is not a great idea. You want someone decent. But to me, in hospitality, to think that we give of ourselves so much without thinking that we might need to get something back, and to, you know, it makes sense, right? And then if you're working with your spouse, like, marriage is just never perfect. So if you're gonna overcome obstacles that are gonna make you stronger and better because you can learn from all of that, like, no one should try to do that on their own. That's crazy. Like, at least go to your priest or your like whoever, but a therapist is the answer for both things. Company culture. So we have company culture consultants. One of them is a therapist and one of them is a coach. And so they're available with my team for like any kind of coaching about all sorts of stuff. Plus we do like a company retreat every year, and we have different stuff that we do with the team. But also layered on that is there's a few therapists in each of our markets that they're just paid for. My team can go to them. I'll never know because of HIPAA who goes to therapy when. I just get a bill, we just pay it. But my team knows. And a lot of times with our team, when there's drama with a guest, with a homeowner, interpersonal stuff within the team, I am always like, hey, I think you should go book a couple therapy sessions. Like, I'm not going to know if you go. So like, I can't hold you to it. I'm just saying, like, you're being self-destructive. You're making bad choices. Like, I had some people throw a party at a house one time, and like, I wanted to fire them, but instead I made them go to therapy, or I requested it. Because I was like, you guys are awesome. You're amazing. You're being self-destructive. You're better than this. Like, I think you're better than this. I think one day you could have a big job here, but like, you're acting like a child and you are like 32. Like, you're not a child. So why don't you go talk to someone? Why don't you figure out maybe like, why are you trying to hurt yourself? You have an amazing situation. And maybe, and anyways, they still work for us. One of them is like in a huge role with our company now. So yeah, therapy.
So I think,
And on that weird note,
yeah, I think if we could do, probably based on what I see some of your Facebook memes and stuff like that, I feel like we could do an entire part 2 on just personal development related stuff,
right?
Because I could geek out about that too. So we shouldn't open that, and I guess we'll wrap with that. The last thing I want to say is that my wife watches the show, and I'll be honest, I'm guilty of like watching it like from the kitchen.
Housewives.
And stuff. Yeah, the Mormon Housewives.
Yeah. I can't get into it. Like, I tried. I thought I was gonna love it. But I was just like, I don't know.
I see myself like I'll be cooking dinner or something, but I'll be like, I'll be watching, and I'll be like, she's so and so girl said what about who? But anyways, the point is, I always see those houses in Park City, and I'm wondering if any of your shows have your houses have been on those shows or anything.
Yeah, like, yes, we rent to those people are always renting houses. They do not own those houses; they are renting them. We usually try not to, because when they do camera stuff in houses, they wreck. Like, if anyone ever wants to shoot in a house that you manage, like, get a lot of money for that. You need big markups because their booms and all their stuff like damages the drywall. It's annoying. So we usually say no, but yes, it's happened sometimes. But yeah, and the Mormon Housewives one, like, that's much more like in the Provo area, which I'm about to. That's where I got to go because I have an appointment out there. That's a great area to go for like filler and injections, by the way. Utah has a huge amount of plastic surgery. It's a crazy thing. It's like more per capita than even like Beverly Hills in California. Isn't that weird? But see, that show, if you watch that show, it all makes sense. But like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like not a big reality TV person. I actually really love like sci-fi and like zombie stuff. I know it's like incongruent, but yeah, there is a lot of like reality stuff happening in Utah, and for good reason. Like, it is an awesome, amazing place, and the whole cultural thing. Like, I'm from Chicago, so I'm not culturally a Utah person. Like, no one from Park City is from here. I guess my children aren't, but like, yeah, Utah's interesting, and that whole cultural thing. I love that more people in the United States are seeing it because it's interesting. And I think like Mormon culture makes Utah actually amazing. And it's an amazing place to raise a kid because of that. But then it's its own thing that like a lot of people don't know about. So it is interesting. Yeah.
Well, cool, Rachel. I know you got to run. So I appreciate you coming on. Matt, anything else you got?
No, my wife's the yin to my yang too. So
right? That's a good sign.
I take
That's
things
why.
personal. And I'm
Gotta
like, should we
keep it
kick him
together.
out? And she's like, no, it's fine. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what do you mean by that? She's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, okay. God, tell him to
Nice.
stop emailing me too then. I don't want to know.
I like it.
So.
I think it's a good mix, personally. Yeah. But, what do I know? Anyway, it was so good talking to you guys. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're probably going to have to do it
thank you.
again because you get a lot more, I'm sure.
Let me know. I do like the
We
talking.
appreciate it.
Are you going to VRMA?
No.
I take it no. You guys aren't part of VRMA? Okay. I'm not mad about it. Like, I did not know about VRMA until I was like 10 years in. You should look at it. I am on the board. I will tell you, it's like a huge shift for my company after we got involved with VRMA. There's just so many experts and people that have been doing this that like learned all this stuff. I never knew that. I never had access to them. And now that I do, I'm just like, you can do it like that? You can, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, VRMA. I mean, it's in October. It's in Vegas. It's Vegas.
Nice.
Like it's at here, like it's at Caesars Forum or whatever is where it's going to be. It's going to be awesome. Look it up. It's a good one. Like what
Concierge would
conferences?
bring me drugs there. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they would. Well, it's legal.
And strippers.
There, depending.
All right.
Yeah, it's all legal there. So that's not even, they definitely have to have that on the menu. All right. Anyway, sorry. Okay. Have a fabulous evening. And hopefully we will talk again.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Austin?
Oh, yeah. All right. My bad. Forgot to sign out. Thank you all for listening. Peace.